In this podcast episode, Riley Gaines, a former world-class swimmer and advocate for fairness in women's sports, shares her journey and experiences. Gaines, who grew up in a family of athletes, excelled in swimming, becoming a 12-time NCAA All-American and SEC champion. She recounts her intense training regimen in college, swimming 15,000 yards daily, which prepared her for the competitive world of collegiate swimming. The podcast delves into Gaines's encounter with Leah Thomas, a male swimmer who transitioned to the women's team at the University of Pennsylvania. Gaines was shocked to discover that Thomas, who had previously ranked 554th among men, was now leading the nation in various freestyle events as a woman. Despite the obvious unfair advantage, the NCAA allowed Thomas to compete in the women's category, disregarding the concerns raised by female athletes like Gaines. Gaines describes the emotional turmoil she experienced during the national championships, where she witnessed Thomas winning titles and sharing locker room spaces with female athletes. The lack of privacy and discomfort in sharing changing areas with a biological male left Gaines feeling violated and betrayed. The NCAA's insistence on enforcing policies that disregarded the rights and feelings of female athletes added to the distress and frustration felt by Gaines and her teammates. The podcast addresses the arguments put forth by pro-trans feminists who claim that biological differences between men and women are insignificant and that women should be flattered to compete against transgender athletes. Gaines refutes these claims by highlighting instances where female athletes were clearly outmatched by male competitors in sports like tennis and soccer. She emphasizes the importance of recognizing biological realities and preserving sex-based protections in women's sports. Despite facing pressure from her university and the NCAA to remain silent, Gaines reached a breaking point during the national championships. The moment when she had to share a podium with Thomas, a biological male, made her realize that she could no longer stay silent and passively accept the erasure of women's rights in sports. She decided to take a stand for herself and her fellow female athletes, understanding that they needed to advocate for their own integrity and fairness in sports. Gaines' unwavering stance on defending the integrity of women's sports has garnered backlash and vitriol from critics. She has faced violence and anger for simply asserting the existence of two sexes and the importance of maintaining fair competition in sports. Despite the challenges and opposition, she remains steadfast in her advocacy for women's rights and the protection of single-sex spaces in athletics. Gaines took her first step into the public arena politically by speaking to Mary Margaret at the Daily Wire, who helped her feel confident in sharing her story. Although she faced criticism and backlash, she did not lose any opportunities or friends. Her dental school even supported her decision to fight for women's sports integrity. The issue of allowing biological men to compete in women's sports has become politically divisive, with the majority of Americans opposing it. Gaines has spoken to people from all backgrounds, including Democrats and Republicans, who agree that men should not compete in women's sports. She believes that the media and elected officials do not accurately represent the views of society as a whole. Gaines has faced protests and threats on college campuses while speaking about women's sports integrity. At San Francisco State University, she was physically attacked and held hostage by protesters, with the police unable to intervene due to fear of being seen as unsupportive. The university administration praised the protesters for their actions, further highlighting the challenges faced by those who speak out against the prevailing narrative. Despite her success in sports and plans to pursue a career in dentistry, specializing in endodontics, Gaines acknowledges that her path may have shifted due to her advocacy work. She hopes to return to her original plans, but recognizes that the fight for women's sports integrity is a pressing issue that she is committed to. Gaines reflects on the controversy surrounding Kansas City Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker, who faced backlash for expressing traditional views on gender roles and the importance of family. She finds it absurd that such statements would lead to calls for his removal from the team and threats to his livelihood. She watched his full commencement speech at a Catholic university and found it to be a message of love and inspiration, in line with the values of the institution. Gaines criticizes the excesses of feminism, noting how the movement has shifted from its original goal of achieving equality for women to promoting divisive ideologies. She emphasizes the need for strong men and women to defend reality and morality in the face of societal challenges. The conversation also delves into Gaines's personal experiences in the media and politics, including her interactions with various figures and her foray into podcasting with Gaines for Girls. She reflects on the impact of social media on her life and the importance of staying true to her beliefs despite facing criticism and backlash online. She shares her hopes for the future, expressing a desire to continue fighting for women's sports and other important causes while also enjoying her personal life as a newlywed. Gaines offers advice to young girls facing challenges in sports, encouraging them to be bold, brave, and courageous in standing up for their rights. She urges parents to support their daughters and teach their sons to be strong men who respect women's sports. She emphasizes the importance of speaking out against unfair practices and making sacrifices to defend the integrity of women's sports, even if it means refusing to compete against male athletes.